Remember that gut-wrenching feeling when the Edmonton Oilers, in a move that defied logic for many, shipped a proven playoff warrior to their fiercest rival for what felt like pocket change? Did you, like countless others, scream at your screen, wondering if the front office had lost its collective mind? Well, brace yourselves, because the NHL rumor mill is churning with a prediction so audacious, so utterly unbelievable, it might just be the most brilliant, most dramatic reversal in recent memory. The return of Evander Kane to the very team that cast him aside. Welcome to the wild, unpredictable world of professional hockey, where loyalty is a fleeting whisper, rivalries run deeper than ocean trenches, and sometimes the most surprising moves are the ones that bring players full circle, creating a narrative so compelling it would make even the boldest soap opera writers jealous. The hockey universe collectively gasped when the Edmonton Oilers, in a bewildering off-season maneuver, decided to part ways with Evander Kane, sending him to their bitter divisional rivals, the Vancouver Canucks, for what amounted to little more than draft table scraps. It wasn't just any player changing jerseys. This was a proven playoff performer, a gritty forward with serious scoring ability, practically gifted to a team they regularly battle for supremacy. Now, respected NHL analyst David Staples is not just speculating, but predicting something that sounds absolutely insane, yet possesses a chilling brilliance. A dramatic reunion, a full-circle moment where Kane could once again don the blue and orange of the Oilers. To truly grasp the sheer audacity and potential genius of this unfolding saga, we must rewind to the moment of the initial trade. Evander Kane's 2025 regular season was, by all accounts, essentially non-existent, a casualty of injury recovery that undoubtedly influenced the Oilers' decision-making process. But here's where the plot thickens, where hindsight begins to paint a completely different picture. Kane's playoff performance, a fiery resurgence, told a story of resilience and clutch production. 6 goals and 12 points across 21 grueling playoff games represented exactly the kind of battle-tested output that championship-caliber teams desperately need when the stakes are at their absolute highest. He wasn't just a participant, he was a catalyst, a physical presence, and a timely scorer who elevated his game when the pressure was most intense. The timing of his departure couldn't have been more peculiar. Edmonton was fresh off a deep playoff run, a campaign where Kane's veteran presence and scoring touch proved invaluable in those pressure cooker situations. Yet, they chose to move on, creating a noticeable void in their top 9 forward group. That void was subsequently filled with promising, but crucially unproven young talent. Meanwhile, the Canucks, with a stroke of opportunistic genius, found themselves in possession of a battle-tested winger who had already demonstrated his ability to elevate his game when the stakes were highest. For a late-round pick, Vancouver essentially acquired a potential difference-maker, a player who could transform their playoff aspirations from a distant dream into a tangible reality. Edmonton's decision to rely so heavily on their youth movement represents either brilliant long-term thinking, a calculated risk for future dominance, or a dangerous gamble with their current, rapidly closing championship window. After losing veteran stalwarts like Corey Perry and other experienced players to free agency, the Oilers doubled down on their youth movement. They placed a significant bet that talented but inexperienced players could fill the production gap left by their departing veterans. This philosophy isn't inherently flawed. Young players often inject energy, speed, and fresh perspectives that can revitalize aging rosters, bringing a dynamic unpredictability that can be difficult for opponents to counter. Their hunger to prove themselves, their relentless pursuit of a permanent spot, can generate the kind of effort that coaches dream about, pushing the pace and creating matchup nightmares for opposing defenses with their raw speed and creativity. However, playoff hockey is an entirely different beast, a brutal, unforgiving crucible where experience often trumps raw talent. The physicality intensifies, the margins for error shrink to microscopic levels, and veteran leadership becomes not just valuable, but absolutely invaluable during crucial moments. When games devolve into grind-out affairs, decided by inches rather than highlight reel plays, having players who have been through those battles before, who understand the ebb and flow of postseason intensity, becomes a non-negotiable asset. Kane's playoff resume, etched with those very experiences, speaks volumes. He's seen the highs, endured the lows, and understands the unique demands of competing for the ultimate prize. The Oilers' young forwards certainly possess the skill sets necessary to succeed at the NHL level, but do they possess the hardened wisdom that only comes from deep playoff runs? That's the million-dollar question. What makes this potential reunion story even more compelling, more irresistible to the hockey purist, is how Kane's situation in Vancouver could unfold. If he starts the season healthy, productive, and consistently impactful, he immediately becomes an incredibly valuable asset for a Canucks team desperately trying to establish themselves as legitimate playoff contenders. Kane's skill set translates perfectly to Vancouver's needs. His ability to score goals in traffic, create havoc in front of opposing nets, and provide that crucial veteran leadership during critical moments could be exactly what the Canucks require to take the next elusive step in their development. He brings a snarl, a competitive edge, and a proven ability to perform under pressure, qualities that are gold in the Western Conference. However, this very success in Vancouver could, paradoxically, create the perfect storm for Edmonton's potential interest in reacquiring him. If the Canucks find themselves struggling to solidify a playoff position, perhaps even falling out of contention, while Kane is performing exceptionally well individually, they might be willing to listen to trade offers rather than risk losing him for nothing as an unrestricted free agent. David Staples' bold prediction includes a crucial, intricate detail that makes this potential trade even more intriguing, a testament to the complex financial gymnastics of the modern NHL. Edmonton would likely need Vancouver to retain a significant portion, if not all, of Kane's salary to make the numbers work. This financial arrangement would be absolutely essential for the Oilers, who are operating with limited salary cap flexibility, constantly navigating the tightrope of a hard cap. For Vancouver, retaining salary on a player they acquired for essentially nothing might, at first glance, seem counterproductive, an act of self-sabotage. But it could make perfect sense under specific, strategic circumstances. If the Canucks determine they are unlikely to make a meaningful playoff run, and Kane is performing well, getting something tangible in return, even if it's a mid-round pick or a prospect, while helping facilitate his reunion with Edmonton, could be smart business. It's about maximizing asset value, even if it means helping a rival in the short term. This salary retention scenario also highlights how incredibly complex modern NHL roster management has become. Teams must constantly balance current performance, future cap implications, and asset management, all while trying to remain competitive in a league where every dollar and every roster spot is scrutinized. The salary cap era has created situations where talented players can become valuable trade assets simply due to financial considerations, forcing general managers to think several steps ahead like grandmasters in a chess match. Adding another layer of intrigue to this potential reunion is the fierce divisional rivalry between Edmonton and Vancouver. Trading within the division is always risky, a high-stakes gamble, because you are potentially strengthening a direct competitor for playoff positioning. If Kane helps Vancouver improve significantly, Edmonton might deeply regret their initial decision to trade him away so cheaply, watching a former asset thrive against them. Conversely, if the Canucks struggle while Kane performs well individually, they might be more motivated to trade him back to Edmonton rather than allowing a division rival to reap the benefits of his production without any reciprocal gain. The psychological aspect of this potential reunion cannot be underestimated either. Kane would be returning to a familiar system, reuniting with teammates he's already built chemistry with, and potentially providing the veteran presence that Edmonton's young forwards could benefit immensely from learning alongside. He knows the locker room, the coaching staff, and the expectations of a championship-hungry team. Kane's playoff pedigree becomes even more valuable when considering Edmonton's championship aspirations, which are currently at their zenith. His 6 goals and 12 points in 21 playoff games weren't just numbers on a stat sheet. They represented clutch performance when his team needed it most, a willingness to go to the dirty areas and make the plays that win games. Playoff hockey demands a specific mentality, a mental fortitude that simply cannot be taught in practice or simulated during regular season games. The ability to maintain composure under extreme pressure, to make plays in tight-checking situations, and to elevate performance when elimination is on the line are rare qualities that Kane has already demonstrated time and again. For a young Oilers forward group, still finding their footing in the intense postseason environment, having Kane's veteran presence could be invaluable during crucial playoff moments, helping to guide them through the mental and physical challenges that define postseason hockey. For this dramatic reunion to actually happen, several intricate factors would need to align perfectly, like stars in a cosmic constellation. Vancouver would need to be out of playoff contention or struggling significantly enough to pivot to a seller's mentality. Kane would need to be performing well individually, showcasing his value. Edmonton would need the cap space, or more realistically, Vancouver's willingness to retain a substantial portion of his salary. And, crucially, both teams would need to believe the trade benefits their respective situations, serving their current and future goals. The timing element is crucial as well. Trade deadline deals often happen quickly in a flurry of activity when teams realize their season trajectories aren't matching their preseason expectations. If Vancouver finds themselves selling rather than buying at the deadline, Kane could become their most valuable trade asset. Edmonton's undeniable need for veteran playoff experience could make them willing to part with assets they wouldn't normally consider trading, driven by the urgency of their championship window. The familiarity factor works heavily in their favor. They know exactly what Kane brings to the table and how he fits into their system, eliminating much of the risk associated with acquiring an unknown quantity. This potential reunion represents something larger than just one player changing teams. It highlights how quickly situations can change in professional sports, how decisions that seem final often aren't, and how the narrative can pivot on a dime. It also demonstrates the evolving, often bewildering nature of team building in the salary cap era, where financial flexibility sometimes matters more than on-ice performance alone. Kane's situation perfectly illustrates how talented players can become valuable trade assets due to circumstances beyond their individual play, forcing teams to make difficult, often unpopular choices. Whether this reunion actually happens remains to be seen, but the mere possibility creates one of the season's most intriguing, most dramatic storylines. Hockey fans love comeback stories, and Kane returning to Edmonton to help them on another playoff run would certainly qualify as compelling theater, a redemption arc for both player and franchise. The next few months will reveal whether David Staples' bold prediction comes true, or if Kane's chapter with the Oilers has truly, irrevocably ended. Either way, this story perfectly captures the unpredictable, exhilarating nature of professional hockey, where today's rivals can become tomorrow's reunion partners, and where the most shocking trades sometimes get reversed in even more shocking fashion. So, what do you think about this wild prediction? Could we really see Evander Kane back in Edmonton blue and orange before the season ends, completing one of the most unexpected returns in recent memory? Drop your thoughts, your theories, and your wildest hockey dreams in the comments below. And if you're as fascinated as I am by the intricate chess match that is NHL roster management, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for all the latest breaking news and in-depth analysis from the heart of the hockey world.